I want to talk about last week's video. How the heck do we add an avatar picture to our Parks on the Air profile? Like this one here. And a G90 is good, but what about more power? This time on Mailbag Monday. What's happening, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to Ham Radio Tube. My name is Mike, K8MRD. If you have an amateur radio-related question for me, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com. I want to start this show off by talking about last week's episode titled, Your QRM and Our Nets, and Should the Nets Move? Now, I got a lot of emails about this, and I got even more comments, more than I'm going to put on here. I would really implore everyone to go back and read through the comments and read what everyone had to say about that. There were a lot of people in agreement with me. There were some who actually disagreed, and everyone makes a good case. Some people state that they wish that the Parks on the Air guys would be more considerate and know where the nets are. This is all good, okay? Because what this means is that amateur radio is growing. We have more people in the hobby or service, whatever you want to call it. And anytime you get more people involved in something, you're going to get more opinions. And as we all know, ham radio operators are certainly opinionated, myself included. I want to address this whole issue, and it was never my intention to kind of like badmouth one particular net, even though we were kind of pointing fingers at the Maritime Mobile net. Could be anyone. We're all hams. We're all here for the same reason: to have fun, to experiment with science, and enjoy what is the radio art, okay? And we need to be mindful of others. You know, the term gentleman's agreement was thrown out a few times in some of the comments. And yeah, that's what we have, a gentleman's agreement. To be nice to each other, to be courteous to one another. Parks on the Air specifically, I think, gets attacked because there are a lot more operators on the air right now than probably ever before. I can only speak since 2016 when I got licensed, but boy, are the bands active. Just look at, here's a screenshot of today on 20 meters. We got a lot of space there that's filled up already, and this is just the middle of the day on a Thursday when I'm shooting this, right? We all need to be considerate, okay? As a new POTA operator, you're going to experience some QRM. It's going to happen. As an old POTA operator, I experience QRM. There's guys who genuinely hate me and hate what I do and make it a passion in their life to see me on the POTA spotting page and intentionally QRM me. It just happens. Those are the bad actors. They're very few and far between. As you progress in Parks on the Air, just ham radio in general, as we tune around the dial, you kind of learn where certain nets are and you know, when they are, and you know, like 14332, the YL system, 14300, the Maritime Mobile net. They're kind of always there. So, you know, let's use some practice, and as we grow and as we learn, you know, there's space for everyone, okay? I got one question. A guy was talks to his buddy all the time when his friend is in the Greek islands, and they were chatting, and apparently there was a de-expedition that was going on, and they were working split. Who knew? I mean, these guys were talking for 15, 20 minutes or so, and they couldn't hear the guy that was the de-expedition, but then all of a sudden, some people came in, and just all of a sudden this DX pileup comes on. Like, it happens. And he asked, what would I do? And I think I can speak for just about every single Parks on the Air operator, because I do genuinely believe that they're some of the nicest people out there and are more than happy to find a clear frequency if they get QRM'd. What would I would find a new frequency. That's all you can do. You're gonna get overrun by the countless people who are trying to work that de-expedition. Maybe there's another station on your frequency that's outside of your skip zone. You can't hear them at all. It's happened to me before, where they just all of a sudden start coming up. And then, you know, what do you do? Do you stand your ground and say, oh, I was here first? Well, maybe he was there first. Nobody knows. Everybody always thinks they were there first. So the better thing to do, let's be gentlemen and gentlewomen, if that's a thing, and do the right thing. and share our very finite space. You know, on days where the solar cycle's down, you can look at the band and there's not a single person on the waterfall. Other times, man, you're trying to carve out your little 2.8 kilohertz of bandwidth there just so you can squeeze in and call CQ POTA or CQDX or just CQ in general. I want to talk to anybody. Sometimes we're going to get QRM'd. But I'd like to say to the other guys, you know, we're all in this together, okay? There's not a single Parks on the Air activator that wants to get on the air and cause QRM. That's nobody's intention. All we want to do is make contacts. No different than if I were sitting in this room just calling CQDX and only looking for DX contacts. I just want contacts. That's it, okay? If you've got your little net here or your little group, just ask. Hey, would you mind moving down a kilohertz or two? Or, you know, we get on this frequency every day, whatever. Just be cool about it, you know? We all share the same space. And there's a lot of companies that want to buy our amateur radio space. So let's feel privileged and grateful that we have these airwaves that we can use. And stop all the fighting. Now, let's get into some fun stuff. We've got a question. Came from the YouTube comments from Beans Malone. He says, how do I change my profile pic on the POTA app website? I have a Gravatar account, but it never loads onto the POTA site. Any help would be appreciated. Well, yes, it is very cool to have your avatar, much like that one. Yeah, on the Parks on the Air website as opposed to just the generic one that they give you. So it's actually pretty easy and pretty automatic as well. You just have to be patient. So let's hop over to the Parks on the Air website, see what the heck he's talking about. So here we are, POTA.app. Now, you do need to have an account. You do need to be signed in, so make sure you sign in. And here, if I just click on my view profile, you can see here's my little K8MRD radio stuff, which is quite outdated. So if we go over here and we go to my account, here you can see all your stuff. And right here it says, want to change your user profile picture? Create an account at Gravatar for your account email. Very important. You need to use the same email that you use for Parks on the Air for this to work. So let's click on this link, open it up in a new tab here, and we're brought to this page called Gravatar. You're going to want to sign up. In my case, I already have an account, so we're going to go ahead and log in. And once you're logged in, you'll see a page like this. And right here, where it says avatars, you need to first add an email. This is what's going to connect Gravatar to the account, the email account that you use for Parks on the Air. So click add email, put in whatever email you got, okay? Mine is k8mrd@icloud.com as my primary. Now here, you can upload an image. So you click on that. Now I have my images stored in a file under logos and stuff. And I'm going to say I want to add my ham radio tube logo. So I'm going to choose this PNG that looks just like that. So I'm going to double click that. Okay, now it's uploading. Then it's going to bring up this crop image thing. So I'm going to embiggen this so we can get the whole darn logo in here like such. Okay, good on the top and bottom there. Then we hit crop image. Okay, then we can close this. Now we can see that this ham radio tube logo is now here. Because notice there's a blue highlight around this K8MRD radio stuff. That's the one that's selected, and that's the one that's in Parks on the Air right now. All I got to do is click on that one, the new one, and notice it changed here. We can go back to Parks on the Air. It's still right there. If we hit refresh, it's still right there. I found that it usually takes, the last time I did this, it took about 4 minutes for this to change in the Parks on the Air. Or if you're like me, just keep hitting refresh a million times and it'll happen. But let's wait about 4 minutes and we'll see what happens. And just like that, it literally was about 4 minutes, maybe 4.5 minutes. So maybe wait 5 minutes. And now we can see here's ham radio tube. Up here next to my call sign is also my logo there. So very easy process. And if you want to change it to something else, you know, if I wanted to change back to K8MRD radio stuff, I would just click that and wait another 4 or 5 minutes and it would be done. So there you go. And now you know the rest of the story. So I hope that helps. And I want to see more avatars on the Parks on the Air website now. Lastly, we've got a question that we've talked about probably 100 million times, but gosh darn, it's just a good one. This viewer is asking a good portable rig. The Zygu Zorro Shegu G90 looks good, but I would like a little more pure. And what would be your choice, a DX Commander or a Hex Beam? Needs to be a little unobtrusive. I live in a kind of snooty area. Just asking. See you next Monday. Well, that's today for you. So first and foremost, a Hex Beam is the farthest thing from unobtrusive in the world. So we're going to rule that out right away. DX Commander, all the way. It's a vertical. It takes up very little space, and it just goes up. But to answer your other question, the G90 is a cool radio. And really, there's not a lot of options in that form factor that are going to give you more power, okay? Really, the only radio that you can buy new on the market right now is the Yaesu 891. That's it, okay? In terms of size, the G90, which I'd show you, but it's in a Go box bolted to a big thing, they're very, very similar in size. The G90 is only slightly smaller than this and only a little bit less weight. So if you want the same size and all that, the 891 by far is going to be the radio to go to. And it's only a couple $100 more. This is $600, $650, something like that. Fantastic radio. You're getting a Japanese radio. Okay, it's not Chinese. It's gonna have better filters, better finals, better everything. Yeah, you don't have a tuner, but use a resonant antenna. You don't need a tuner. But you could look at like the ICOM 7100. It's a bit more bulky, where you have basically a body of a radio, and then you have a whole other face or head to it that they don't attach. They're two completely different units. I take now my 7300 is my main portable radio. This is it. It's really not that big of a radio, all things considered. When you compare the two, let's see if I can do this. I mean, there's a 7300 next to an 891. You know, it's probably about a bowfang and a half wider, but they're the same width and everything. And it's the 7300 is twice as thick. Certainly heavier radio, but in terms of current consumption and everything, they're pretty much exactly the same. They both draw about an amp on receive, and maybe 15 to 18 like full throttle FT8 amps and sideband. You're going to be peaking there. Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, as well as Frank from Tank Radio, both have the Yaesu FTDX 10s. We're not talking price, because price, there's nothing compared to the G90. But there's some older. I think the ICOM 7 something, not the 706. That's a QRP radio, I feel. But there are some older mobile radios that are out that could get you 100 watts. But then you're buying a used radio with God knows what happened to it, and if you're cool with that, knock yourself out. But yeah, for the form factor, the size, the weight, and the more power, the 891 is really the way to go. But guys, let us know, what do you think? What radio other than a G90 would be a good radio to take out portable that's current? There's really not a lot. I've taken 7610 portable, not the greatest for that, but that's kind of what you're looking at. The options are limited. You could, of course, get a G90 with an amplifier, but then you're bringing more stuff, more power. You're going to bring a bigger battery anyways. QRP, things like the G90 and the KX2s and 3s and all the QRP radios, 818s and things. QRP isn't just about a smaller radio. It's about smaller everything, smaller batteries. Generally, we can use smaller coax. Like I use the RG316 a lot, although I do use that for 100 watts. But smaller antennas, smaller mass, smaller packs, smaller everything. It's not just about output power. It's about current consumption, everything. There's so much, so many variables involved in that. But That's my official answer. And if you're going to have a DX Commander, you might as well have an 891 or a 7300 or a 7 FTDX 10, whatever the heck it is, or that 710 looks like a nice radio too. I've not used it, but I've heard good things. So that's my official answer. And guys, if you have questions for me, shoot me an email, k@mrd@icloud.com, and you just may have one of your questions answered on an episode of Mailbag Monday. But for now, that's all I got. We'll see you again on another episode of Ham Radio Tube 73, guys.